A big question tonight: does US support for India's global role boost its status as a major stabilizing force? And to talk about it, we have former Ambassador B.S. Prakash with us. Mr. Prakash, what do you make of the way Lavoie really built up his entire argument about how ties with India have really changed and really evolved into something else altogether quite unique as far as US is concerned in the last 8 years or so, and particularly after Prime Minister Modi came to power?
I think I see what he stated as perfectly natural and understandable, and almost as a statement of facts. I think there are two elements, but to start with what you asked me, it is indeed true, we all recognize this, and so does the US, that there has been a qualitative change in US-India relationship.
Right.
And it is across the spectrum. It is strategic, political, economic. There is a defense dimension to it. Climate change, which is an issue very close to Obama's heart, and I think we made a dramatic gesture in also being sensitive to what was a priority for them, priority for us as well. But we made that announcement on October 2. And then there is, of course, the people-to-people relationship, trade, industry, intellectual property rights, transfer of technology. So an entire spectrum of issues. And as we have been seeing, the number of working groups, the number of different forums on which we come together, all this is not to say that there are no differences. There are differences, important differences with the US. But that again is natural, and I'm merely stating the factual when we recognize the differences. But the intensity of the exchanges between us and the extent of exchanges is truly remarkable. So Peter Lavoie is somebody who I think, as the introduction kind of noted, he is now a kind of a point person for South Asia. And actually he has had a long background both with regard to India and Pakistan.
Okay.
He's had a certain intelligence background as well, and he has been an academic, and he has taught, and now he is a part of the White House establishment. So he is recognizing all this, and I think it's good to state this, and for us it's good to hear from him. But I think we do recognize that is the first part. But there is the other part of it which relates to the surgical strikes, right, and a kind of a full understanding and defense of what India did.
And the US said that it was indeed cross-border terrorism what happened in Uri. So that is also big.
I think so. So I think that part of what he has said, if we really deconstruct it, Gautam, I think there are several elements, and it really to me shows how calibrated, how carefully what we did was not only was done on the ground, but was kind of articulated and presented to an international audience as well as the domestic audience.
But do you think it indicates that there's a possibility, and maybe remote at this stage, but there's a possibility that there might be a complete convergence on security issues, particularly related to terrorism as far as India and US are concerned? Because if that happens, it can be hugely troublesome for Pakistan.
I don't think that there is complete convergence. Frankly, I think that is too much to expect. Anything west of India,
right,
international issues are different, but there are issues of great significance where we have divergences, issues relating to Afghanistan, Pakistan. We had differences with regard to Iran, less so.
Yes.
So I said west of India. But here what has happened is that what we did was really to recognize this as terrorism across the line of control, but terrorism. So it is not really military hostility on a grand scale. It is not India, Pakistan coming to war. It was taking limited surgical action in response to intended terrorism. Now, how can the US really not appreciate that? Because if there is one country in the world after India which has suffered from terrorist attacks,
and which has gone after terrorists in
exactly,
the manner that
this is what happened after 9/11. So both the doctrine of the right to self-defense when you are attacked and taking action counter-terrorism are both principles and percepts which are very close to the US, which is of great priority to the. So here is a case in which we said the DGMO told the Pakistani DGMO, his counterpart, that we have acted in this limited way, we are calling off action. Now, this is not really an escalatory cycle of going to war. This is limited specific action against these terrorist launch pads and across the line. So, I think, as I was saying, the way it was articulated, the way it was calibrated, the way it was also packaged and conveyed to an audience. So, that is why this, of course, is the US statement, and it is welcome, and we must recognize it.
At the same time, Peter Lavoie said that there is no need for US and India to have an alliance treaty, because we've in a way gone beyond the necessity for that sort of an arrangement, because we are partners and we are special, unique partners. Do you see this partnership negotiating and taking on challenges that have been difficult to surmount together along with other countries in the days to come, India playing a major role, as Lavoie said?
No, as I said, I don't think anyone is talking of any kind of an alliance. In military terms, even in terms of strategic vision, there will be differences between India and the US, and both sides recognize that.
Yes.
So, it is not the intention of either side to really become, like for instance, you have in some cases complete dependence or complete alliance. But at the same time, there is a whole agenda in which we are more than partners. We are working together for certain global objectives.
Yes.
On issues of security, and specifically on issues relating to, as I said, counter-terrorism, Pakistan, Afghanistan, West Asia, there will be differences. But here is something that we did, that every right-thinking person has to understand, and it is justified, it is defensible on our part. It has to be defended and accepted by every responsible state. So, that is why I said that it is a statement of fact.
We just brought to our viewers what the Russian president said.
That's right.
And he is going to be here very soon, and he will look to further that partnership that Russia has had with India for decades.
That's right.
Even more.
I think the Russian representative, their ambassador here in Delhi, who is a very senior diplomat, he had understood our action and had spoken about it a day or 2 days after what we did. In the European Parliament, the Vice President of the European Parliament, speaking for the European Parliament, did that. What is even more significant or equally significant, Gautam, is that countries in our region, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, this act of self-defense is very well understood. Yeah. So, when we say that we had to act, this is self-defense, and we know what we are doing and control that escalation. That was, I think, as we said, it was a very professional approach, not only by the army, but also in terms of the foreign policy establishment, I mean, how we handled it. There's one more element, very briefly. I think the US, Peter Lavoie, also expressed caution, not caution, he expressed the wish that this should not escalate.
Yeah.
He also talked about, both states being nuclear powers and so on and so forth. So, there will be always this element, but that's why I think the way it was, handled was exemplary, and I think the US recognizes it.
Okay. But as far as India is concerned, where does it take its rising stature to in terms of tackling terror and other global problems? Because we are isolating Pakistan over terrorism, but it needs to be perhaps done even more. It needs to be accentuated further.
Absolutely. I think our goal is to make terrorism an illegitimate activity. To just give you an example, I mean, apartheid, for instance, was state practice. It's a very heinous practice, but it was a state practice of South Africa. But then over a period of time, the very concept of racial discrimination as in apartheid was regarded as illegitimate. So, similarly, at one stage people were thinking that if you are doing freedom struggle, if you are doing self-determination, if you are fighting for your freedom, you can have recourse to terrorism. But our objective is to say that terrorism, killing of innocents, killing of children, women, blowing up all this infrastructure, this should be completely beyond any kind of, there are different kinds of violence. People go to war, people fight for different things.
And we'll have another opportunity in a couple of days on a multilateral forum, BRICS and BIMSTEC summits taking place in Goa.
So I think we have a position, as we know And as we often discuss, we have an international convention on international terrorism. But more and more, our objective is to see that any state which is supporting terrorists, because nobody will say that we are doing it.
Yeah.
They always say that these are non-state actors, these are proxies, these are agents. But supporting them, financing them, providing safe havens, that this should be something, such a state should be ostracized in that sense. And some kind of, hopefully such individual should come under sanctions, such entities should be banned. So it is this challenge, and we have gone a long distance in this, but there are still things to be done in this regard, not only for India, for many other countries as well.
India itself has to do it has to take other measures.
India has to take measures, and India has to convince others, saying that, you know, what's happening, like for instance in this case, this is complete nonsense to say that this in any case is linked to the Jammu and Kashmir, what's happening in Jammu and Kashmir. This is purely an activity that needs to be aboard.
Because the Pakistanis, the envoys who met Laboy just last week, they tried to link the Afghanistan process to what is happening in Kashmir, and he's completely rejected it.
Exactly, exactly, because I think one of the principles says there is that they say that, you know, this kind of a fight is justified.
It's almost indelicate blackmail.
Yes, and linking it to political causes. But we have a principle saying that no cause, whether it is political or religious or ethnic or moral or any other, no cause justifies terrorism. Terrorism is something which cannot be justified by reference to anything else which is regarded as sanctified.
All right, we'll have to wait and see which way does this campaign really go as far as Pakistan is concerned, but clearly India's stature is rising in the world, and lots of good things to come India's way despite what Pakistan has been doing. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening to talk about it.